Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. I am your host, as always, Stephen Stark. With me this week, got the regular co-host, John. Nessie is working this week. It's really unfortunate she has to miss this one because it's going to be a doozy. Got two of the biggest Tolkien nerds I know. We'll throw to Dan first, down there in the corner, voice of Geekdom. Dan, most of the folks here know who you are, but for those odd people that might not, tell them who you are, what you do.
Well, as you say, I'm Dan from Voice of Geekdom from London, England, and I am a big Tolkien geek. I have a channel called Voice of Geekdom, which is Tolkien focused, and I'm excited to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time.
One of the greatest movies ever made.
Oh yeah,
there I said it. And Kelly, also joining us, the Jaded Redhead. I'm going to be nice and just call you Jaded Redhead this time.
It's calling me your the affectionate nickname is I don't take it as unkind.
Right. I'm sure it'll happen later. But
yeah.
Kelly, you do some work with Dan, don't you?
I run his Facebook page, for Voice of Geekdom. Yes.
Right on. So yeah, big time YouTube or Tolkien YouTuber, big time Tolkien YouTubers community manager, sort of.
Just a little admin. I'm not.
I've told her that if the channel ever makes any real money, then I'll pay her a little bit. So
Right.
I'm not. We've had joked around about me being his PA, and I'm just like no, that's nuts.
Like my intern or something.
Yeah.
She's my good friend.
Getting some love for the sweaters and we're going to take a moment. Let's go ahead and show them off right now. I love your Dan. Let's start with you since you are so proudly displaying. Merry Christmas, you filthy hobbitses. I love it. We'll throw to Kelly next. Get through our guests because I see.
I don't have a ugly jumper sweater.
Yeah, but you do have a green dragon. Yeah. The only brew for the brave and true comes from the green dragon.
Yes.
What about you, John?
Mine is just New Line Cinema corporate merchandise. Okay. And it's the wrong movie to boot.
Apropos.
No.
Okay.
Whereas I don't have any Lord of the Rings t-shirts or anything, so I just wore my ugly Christmas sweater. It's fantasy. Close enough, right?
Yeah, sure. Same thing.
Yeah, basically the same story.
I'm not going there.
I love that this has become like a Christmas tradition for us now. It's like every year we're going to watch the Lord of the Rings movies together.
Yeah. Next year,
I mean, I was doing that anyway. Now we're just talking about it.
Yeah. Next year we've got the Two Towers 20-year anniversary, right. And the year after we've got the Return of the King.
It practically schedules itself. But yeah, we're here to talk specifically about Peter Jackson's Fellowship of the Ring, because as of today, we get to do a retro review. Retro review is always a movie that is 20 years
out.
older.
You are delighted in torture.
Oh man,
I'm out. Yeah.
Look.
Bye.
Look. Let us rejoice that for 2 whole decades we've had this masterpiece in our midst.
Has yet to be surpassed.
Yeah. Number 1 Trilly.
Yeah. Which
Dan, did you did you watch it? The rap? The
rap. Oh no, I didn't get around to watching it.
You really should.
Yeah.
Which I'm sorry, but I'm with Colbert on this. Like, why does Harry Potter get a 20th anniversary special on HBO Max, and it was left up to Stephen Colbert to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Fellowship of the Ring? Like, that's just wrong.
Well, I guess Warner Brothers, shelled out enough for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers is Harry Potter.
Yeah, because Warner Brothers just enjoy profiting off of Lord of the Rings, but they weren't the ones who shelled out the cash to get it made. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, but we're not going to like spend any time being angry about what Harry Potter's doing, okay?
Oh, I am.
No,
it's a 20-year rivalry, Stephen. This has been it started.
Let's not speak of rivalries. Let us.
It
speak
started
of the
back then, so it's only fair that we continue on.
Okay, I know how to mute you. That's fine. But I did just drop the link for the rap down there in the chat, and it's so good, y'all. It's funny, but very funny. I will never get the name Big Pippin out of my head. such a great little, I don't know, made me laugh, and I do enjoy the hip hop, so I
Yes.
like it a good deal.
Some of us here enjoy the hip hop.
Yes. Does anyone here have the extended editions in 4K? If anybody does, it's him right there.
I do. Which I'm going to avoid being the technical nerd and talking about the things that I'm actually not happy about with the 4K versions, but I will say they're worth getting.
I mean, we're going to heap praise and thanks, Amy. And we are going to be objectively critical as well.
Oh,
nothing wrong with that.
Like, I'm going to list everything wrong with this whole movie.
Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil would not have worked in this movie.
Right. Like, and that's actually something I think bears mentioning before we dig any deeper, is that these books are big and they cut down a whole lot of stuff. Like, as you say, Tom Bombadil, all the Barrow White stuff.
Well, the big thing is the 17-year gap between Gandalf realizing that something was wrong with Bilbo and Frodo setting out on the quest, because there's a lot of time that passes at the beginning of the book.
Yeah, like Frodo has to devolve into the neighborhood weirdo after Bilbo leaves.
Right.
So that's a big change. John and I did a stream together on my channel talking about all the changes in the films, and we talked in quite a bit of depth about a lot of this stuff, and talked about some of our very minor gripes about some of the things that they did in adaptation.
Well, when you have a book that's big, like there's a lot to trim down.
I guess my point is, though, that everything they kept felt purposeful. Everything they cut felt missable, so to speak. Like, I agree, Tom Bombadil would not have worked in this movie. He's too ridiculous a character and too serious a film. Don't you think?
Well, also, I mean, I was watching the theatrical cut today, and there's just like with if you're looking especially at that version, like it's a roller coaster ride. There's no place to stop and talk to Tom Bombadil for however long. It's like they're running from the ring wraiths and they gotta keep going.
It is very like fly by the seat of your pants, because it's just like, we got to get through this story right now. Let's go. I
remember Ian McKellen described the movie when he saw it as the film equivalent of a page turner. Like, it just keeps moving along.
I don't often hear criticisms about these films in general, but one thing you will hear, especially from people who are not hardcore fantasy fans or not into it, don't have a bent for it, is that they can feel slow. They can feel plodding, and that might be an effect of everybody wants to watch the extended version, not the theatrical cut. And when you get them up to 3.5 to 4 hour movies, it's quite a commitment of time. I do not feel that way. I love these films top to bottom. I think that. No, I mean, even having gotten used to the extended versions, like, I would never call them slow.
No, they're not. They are. They are very long. It's not a question of time, though. I have the time for every single minute of these movies. It's a question of sheer bladder control, I think, is the issue. So they are very long movies. Kelly and I watched the extended version together the other day on Zoom, and I made sure that I went to the toilet twice before I opened up a Zoom link.
Right.
Because I was kind of fine as well, because I was going out to dinner immediately afterwards. So we didn't have time to pause. So
yeah, the whole time in the extended editions. Yeah, wow, I didn't even consider that. We were there the whole time. Yeah.
And but on the subject of like the extended cut, because like from my perspective as like, you know, a Lord of the Rings fan, I'd say there's like nothing at all wrong with any of the extended cuts, and I'll happily sit there forever and ever. As a more as a film geek and you know, someone who studies editing and all that stuff, I can probably point to things in, say, the extended cut of Return of the King, for example, that maybe, you know, it's a bit much. But I will say, like, I think both the theatrical and extended cuts of Fellowship of the Ring are pretty much perfect. I love both of them equally, and like there's not, I don't even think there's anything that you'd call extraneous in the extended cut of Fellowship. I think it all flows beautifully, and it's stuff that you can lose in the theatrical cut, but at the same time, when you watch the extended cut, you're like, I don't want to miss out on that scene. It's beautiful.
I for one think the extended cut is really the correct way to watch these movies.
Yeah, but also as someone who saw the original version 14 times in the cinema, like I have like I just, my memory kind of clicks into place when I watch that original version, so hence why I still have a lot of affection for it.
I'm just gonna. Yeah. The thing is, you're not exaggerating when you say 14, are you?
I'm not at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
And that's not really counting the times that like I went to go see another movie and then I snuck in for the last like 30-40 minutes of the movie, because that happens.
You had time to go see other movies.
This is John we're talking about, Kelly.
He had to go and see Harry Potter, obviously.
Kelly, like,
Dan.
like I you know, I struggle a bit with making it to the movies these days, and I'm not even talking about COVID, but just with, you know, things that I've going on. When I was young, when I was in high school, like I was going, like it was my second home basically. So yeah, I was seeing like 1 billion movies a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that about you. Like that's your thing. Some of us play D&D. John goes and watches movies.
I've kind of kept it on the down low, but right. I'm letting you guys in on the secret now. Mm-hmm. Plus, like, you know, and I've talked about this before, but like I had like a whole year of looking forward to this film, and it's funny, a lot of people talk about how they had doubts about, you know, about how the film would turn out, because they were like, Peter Jackson, didn't he just direct a bunch of, you know, low budget, you know, horror movies and like nobody's ever going to do justice to Tolkien. But I remember, maybe, I don't know, I was extremely naive, but I had just read the book like in the year before the film came out, and so my brain was just hardwired to Lord of the Rings, and I was just convinced that the movie was going to be the greatest thing on earth. So my expectations could not have been higher. And somehow when I went and saw this in the theater, it still surpassed every expectation I had.
I think that's like, it was done so well from your sheer willpower for it to be so great.
Yeah. But, and then in certain, I've had certain experiences with other films in the 20 years since where I'm like, oh God, that could have gone horribly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some did go horribly wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
If Twitter had been around in 2001, there would have been a ton of controversy about Peter Jackson being appointed director of this movie.
Very true.
Thankfully, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was message boards that had stuff going on.
Oh yeah, message boards had an effect on the creation and editing of the movie itself.
That's true. Yeah, our friends at theonering.net had an effect on some of the editorial decisions that were taken, some of the writing decisions that were taken with some of the characters who had roles that were very different to what made it into the final cut in the end.
I didn't know that.
That's true.
But yeah, I think I got I started to lurk over at theonering.net around 2002. So in the year before that, I think I had like a smaller message board that I frequented that had like a Lord of the Rings subsection. And but that was about the extent of my exposure to the fan community. So I was getting all my information from just like, reading some random articles online and official movie guides.
Nobody's commented on my background.
Because I don't want to start
morbid.
crying.
Yeah.
Like I
it's
just
like,
finished.
oh, what a moment!
I just finished rewatching the movie, Steven. I've already been in tears over Boromir. So
okay,
like,
you've already
I'm
cried
trying.
for Boromir once today. I got you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's what he was born to do, and if you think about it, it's what we're all born to do.
But we're not all born to repeatedly die on film, though.
That's true. I think Sean Bean will be the last man left alive on Earth.
I hope not. I mean, he must be like in his 50s at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I remember having the experience of watching him in the first episode of Game of Thrones and recognizing that he had gotten older. I'm like, oh, time is passing on from Lord of the Rings. What's this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not happy about this being called a retro movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Look, you cannot stop the march of time.
No.
You know what? We can now officially classify it as a classic.
It was a classic from when it came out. Like, I mean, it was an immediate classic.
Yeah.
Okay,
but retro means a certain
classic.
Yeah. What is in the States? A vehicle has to be how old before it gets vintage plate?
25 years.
Okay, all right.
But classic rock is 20 years old.
Yeah. So it's just like, screw everything. Ugh.
No, I mean, Dan, you're right. This was a classic the moment it came out.
It really was.
But it was surreal watching it today, like recognizing that it's 20 years old and thinking about back to when I was a kid and I went to go see the Star Wars special editions when that film turned 20 years old. It seemed like a lot longer of a time back then.
Right.
But I kind of really enjoyed it because as much as I hate the idea of me getting older, it just, something about it felt good because it's a sign of how monumental the film was and the fact that I'm glad to say we're still going on and on about it.
Mm-hmm. And it says something about how well the film has aged that literally 20 years later, everybody's like, I can't believe it's 20 years. Yeah. It feels, it remains an important part of all of our lives to some degree or other. And to watch it, you could believe it was made yesterday. There's like the CG is beautiful. The in-camera tricks they pull off is fantastic. Just
I've heard people say before that they feel some CG has aged, and I always say the only CG that doesn't look fantastic to me is the stuff that was kind of shaky when the movie came out. But for my money, everything looks as phenomenal today as the first day I saw it, and I love the miniature work. You know,
the miniatures, the bigatures, that's always much appreciated.
There, I fixed it.
Matt's good to see you.
Okay, so
which, by the way, I'm gonna say thank you to Matt for all the daily pictures of Lord of the Rings that he puts up on Twitter. I love looking at that stuff.
I've been seeing them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's talented artist as well, Matt. I think if it's the Matt that I'm thinking of.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so this film, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of characters. There's a lot of story development. So rather than trying to pick through it start to finish, let's just go for like our favorite bits. So, and guests first and ladies first. Kelly,
man.
Okay.
Why you got to be sexist, Stephen? God.
Yeah. Okay.
Our favorite bits. What can you be more
pick
specific?
Pick a favorite bit.
When they almost land in poo.
Oh, when they fall off the side of the hill?
Yeah. Oh, that was close.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out what kind of poo it was when we were watching the other day, weren't we?
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, whatever kind of poo it was, it had mushrooms growing out of it.
Mushrooms.
It always made me laugh. I think he broke something and he pulls out the carrot. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the Black Rider. He's been like riding back and forth over that same area.
Of course, shit. I got you.
Yeah.
I love that.
Can I just I don't want to pick a favorite part.
No, you don't have to pick a favorite part. Just pick a part you love.
Okay, so I did actually mention this with Dan. As Gandalf is coming into the Shire, and the sun is kind of being cut through the trees, and it's almost like a silhouette, but not really, as Gandalf is coming, and there's like rays of sunshine coming through. He's in his cart, and you can hear him humming, and it's kind of like this idyllic, just a scene, and it's just so many things about this are so beautiful. Actually, let me just get the picture that I drew that I had to draw thinking about that scene. Hold on.
Okay. Well, while she does that, Dan, do you have like a moment that really stands out to you that's just like, so good?
The death of Boromir gets me going emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to call that a favorite moment because it's really traumatizing and really difficult to watch, actually. All of the Shire stuff, I think, is wonderfully adapted. I think it brings the Shire to life in a way that I couldn't have possibly dreamed of seeing when I was a kid, reading these books. I'm going to just sort of list every scene in the movie if you just let me keep talking. So cut me off whenever you feel like it. Moria, people are talking about Moria in the chat. Moria was straight out of the book, and I just loved the whole thing. The parts where they're explaining about Mithril from the extended edition, I really like. It's like a small moment, but and the nods to the Mithril coat and Frodo's reaction when Gandalf is explaining how it's worth the real estate of the Shire is worth less than the mail that Frodo is wearing. The moment where before that, or that before that or later? In Moria, where Gandalf is giving the speech about oh gosh, the lines are going out of my head, but how I've been drinking rum. Sorry. The speech that Gandalf makes to Frodo, where he talks about providence and how we don't have a choice about.
Oh yeah, you know, I wish all we have to do is choose what we do with the time that is given us.
Yes. Yeah. Ian McKellen absolutely nails that scene so wonderfully. So I really, really like that scene. It's an example of a dialogue from the book that's like word for word what's in the book, except it happens in a different place in the book.
Thanks.
Nice.
Awesome. I like the fireworks at the back.
Yeah, good stuff. What about you, John? It's like your standout.
I notice you keep leaving me for last. I have to assume
I haven't gone yet.
You're just doing this to drive me crazy.
I'm going last. You want me to go next, so you can go actually last?
No. Following up on talking about the Shire, there's a moment that I've always just adored, which is right after they're getting ready to pull up to Bag End, and Frodo says, "Gandalf, I'm glad you're back," and jumps out of the cart, and then Ian McKellen just so brilliantly just softly says, "So am I," because I remember seeing this the first time in the theater, and it just felt like he was speaking for the audience in that moment, because you just immediately felt like you were in Tolkien's world and you were at home. And so I love that. Some other, like, everybody's already talked about like bigger sequences like Moria and all that. There's a moment when they first go into Moria that I've always liked, where they get the cave, collapses and they're trapped inside, and it's just black for a moment, and then Gandalf says, you just hear his voice go, "We now have but one choice," and then he uses his staff to light up, and he says, "We must take a long road through Moria," and it's just. Everything that Ian McKellen pretty much does in this movie is just brilliant. That man could read a dictionary and it would be the most enthralling thing in the world.
He's got a great voice.
Yeah, and obviously the entire Moria sequence, and what you got in your background, Stephen, the death of Boromir, is always like. I told you guys I saw the movie 14 times in the cinema. I'm hard pressed to think of a single one of those viewings where I wasn't crying, for that scene. It's just actual tears coming out and everything. It's so emotional. And for a character that you really don't feel that much for in the book, he's just kind of book Boromir is just kind of a dick, honestly. But Sean Bean made us care for that character so much, and we get his death as the emotional climax of the film, whereas in the books, it's relegated to the very opening of the Two Towers.
Mm-hmm. Well, Sean Bean in his first 5 minutes on screen gives us reasons to love and hate that character, like, immediately. Yeah. It's just a maelstrom of emotion with him all the way through.
Are you talking about specifically when he wouldn't pick up the shards of Narsil, like after he drops it?
Well, maybe not that. No, I'm talking more about the council.
Which by the way, I do want to mention that moment. That's actually something, talking about the effect that editing has on a movie. I love that moment just a bit more in the theatrical version, because we don't get that little moment between Aragorn and Boromir. So it comes off as though Boromir hasn't even seen Aragorn. And so the moment where he picks up the shard, he thinks he's all alone. And when he drops it, and that's when they lock eyes. And it's kind of just chills down your spine. So it's a different kind of moment depending on which version of the film you're watching. And I've always preferred the original.
That's interesting.
Right on. So for me, like you've all said some wonderful things. Boromir here is one that always gets me, like literally every time. There's something about that heroic sacrifice ending that he makes that just works for me so well. But for me, it's a lot of like the little things. In Moria, John, you're talking about there's that moment of darkness and then he lights up his staff. To me, the greatest thing about that is the way he bangs his staff once and it kind of comes on dimly and then he bangs it again and it gets really bright, like hitting the TV to make the photo go away.
Yeah.
It's a small touch, but it works. Or like when the Fellowship is leaving Rivendell and Frodo's at the front and Gandalf's like, it's to the left.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember it's left or right, but yeah, he's got to tell Frodo which way it is to go. All of those little moments speak to me. They make it feel they don't have that polish on it of super slick, fast storytelling. You know what I mean? They're taking that extra half a second to make the world feel like it's not everything goes exactly perfectly like you could write it on a page. Like if you write it, it can go however you want. But it feels like these people live here, are from moment to moment not having things go exactly as they want. I don't know. I'm not explaining it very well.
No, you are. You're making a lot of sense. I think things like that are the reason why people compare these movies so readily to Star Wars. And as putting aside the fact that it's another blockbuster film trilogy, like if you think about moments where Chewbacca is about to jump into the garbage chute and Han Solo says to him, "I don't care what you smell, just get in there." It's that kind of thing, like the little kind of like almost ad-libbed moments that Lord of the Rings does really well as well.
There's something like, I know what you mean. One of the funniest moments in the whole movie is Pippin turns the arrow and the bucket falls and it takes everything with it and it's making this clang, clang, clang. I died laughing the first time I saw that. And then, of course, all hell breaks loose and it ends up being quite bad and it costs Gandalf his life. But
that's such a great moment and it's magnified, of course, from the book, because in the book he drops a stone in there and they continue to walk around for a couple days and before the attack happens. But this is like dialed up so much where he just makes this clanging racket and
there's an awesome buildup with Gandalf, reading from, I guess it was like the the manuscript or the log.
Book of Mazarbul, it's called.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I knew we could depend on Dan will come in there with all the stuff that we can't remember.
It was like the culmination of like this, this impending doom, literally, as Gandalf is reading. And we kind of commented on the scroll at the end, where it's like it's written in Dwarvish and it's just like someone writing like at the very end of their limit.
It made me think of that scene from Monty Python, the
Now I understand that those little little comic pieces kind of humanize the story a little bit and the characters, but it's kind of those my favorite parts tend to be the cliche epic shots, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Specifically in Moria, as they are as Gandalf is explaining the city itself, and the music builds and it's just this wide sweeping shot of all the columns, and then when you're approaching Balin's tomb, it's it's very when you have the sunlight or the light coming through the window, and you have, you know, the I guess the casket or the sarcophagus, whatever, is right there, and everything is like, you know, centered, but it's amongst this like scene of you know, decayed mayhem almost. It's very it's
Don't make you.
I mean,
We've been waiting
like,
for
I'm not gonna complain. Yeah,
we got him, Dan.
yeah.
I actually don't know where they are now.
I mean, I've been disappointed every time you haven't entered a stream with them. So.
That's why he gets booked.
Yeah. No, just yeah, the whole entrance into the lower part of Moria with, you know, the music, you know, where Gandalf, you know, says, behold the great realm of Dwardelf, you know, and it's a moment, it's just soaking in this this glory of the, you know, the kingdom of the dwarves, and it's just allowing you to bask in that for a moment. And yeah, it's just beautiful. I think that one of the reason why, and that moment is in the theatrical version, but for the extended cut you get a lot more of that kind of thing, where it just allows the story to exist in Middle Earth, and you get moments that aren't strictly about, you know, explaining plot point this, you know, and you know, it's not in this movie, but, you know, in Return of the King you get that moment where Frodo and Sam come across, you know, the statue of, you know, the fallen king and all that stuff. The extended version of all these films really makes it feel like this is a story being told in a larger world, just like the books. And so I think that's what's so great about them.
Yeah, it's just, I have been Pippin, standing there, having done something really stupid, and waiting for the ass chewing that you know is coming, and just having to stand there and wait while the chaos plays out around you. You're helpless to do anything about it, and you just have to stand there being like, this is gonna suck so bad here in a second.
Yeah, and we get to have both sides of that, where the, you know, the absolute magnificent comedy of that moment where he's just getting ready to be chewed out, but then on the flip side, when they come out of Moria and Gandalf has fallen, and Pippin's grief.
Oh man, it gives me chills thinking about it, because boy, he delivers that anguish on his face so well.
Yeah, and it's just, you're not even hearing any sound effects even. It's all at that moment, it's Howard Shore's music, and you're seeing like Gimli trying to struggle to go back into Moria to, you know, to continue to fight, and Sam just sitting there, you know, with his head in his hand, you know, and crying, and Pippin sobbing as Merry consoles him, and then of course you get Boromir's great, you know, give them a moment for pity's sake, and if we didn't love Boromir before, that's the moment that seals it. Yeah. It's just an absolutely mesmerizing sequence, that whole bit, and so like I didn't highlight that moment specifically, but yeah, that section of Moria when they run from the Balrog all the way until they're out on the slopes, it's
and Frodo's solitude as well. Frodo kind of wanders off on his own, and everybody else is kind of on their own, but as a group, whereas Frodo is almost more alone than everybody else. Which is...
and that tear that just comes down his face. Oh.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start crying all over again.
Yeah. Well, all right. Let's move on to something else then.
Too late.
I'm sorry. What?
That's why Kelly's off camera.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, like, to just brighten things up, I'll geek out about for a second physical media. When I was on my trip this past weekend, I stopped at a used bookstore and they had used everything. So I did actually, for the first time ever, get a VHS copy of The Fellowship of the Ring, which I cannot play on anything.
I was about to ask, do you have a
But
VHS?
I'm very excited to have it. It's,
Right.
Yeah.
Is it rewound? Oh, it is.
It is. Yeah, it's never been open. It was still in its wrapper.
Oh, nice.
So
sorry.
behold the fossil.
Look, when the apocalypse comes, John does not know what type of physical media he'll be able to play. He needs to have it in all possible formats.
What if after the apocalypse, Betamax comes back? He won't be able to watch The Lord of the Rings.
Then I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Eric's got it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got it right. Yep. Although Kate's talking about sending you a present now, John.
It does not surprise me that she still has a VHS DVD player.
Yeah.
I think we had The Lord of the Rings on VHS when it first came out, because I don't think we had a DVD player at my house when it came out.
I remember the one that I was upset that they didn't have was the double cassette version of Return of the King for the theatrical edition, because that movie was so long they had to split it on the two tapes. Right. I've always wondered where the break was for that specific edition, because it wouldn't necessarily be in the same place as the extended cut.
Bring it up again in 2 years and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But Stephen, you haven't said your favorite moment, or have you?
Oh, well, mine just come down to the little lived-in moments, I guess is what I would say. Or like, I don't know, the Council of Elrond is really cool to me as well. There's something about the coming together of all these different people. They obviously don't like each other, but they're at least willing to sit down because they understand the danger that this thing poses. And you get the meet cute with Gimli and
yeah, that's what it is. I will be dead before I see the ring in the hands of an elf.
Right. But we all know they eventually end up as a romantic couple. So what was that? Somebody posted a meme in one of the Slack channels where it was like, it was Galadriel and it says, "This is my boyfriend Gimli and this is his boyfriend Legolas."
Yes.
And it was that.
I think Anna like actually posted
Anna
that. And I was like, this makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Oh, guys.
Celeborn, poor Celeborn is nowhere in that meme either.
No, I know.
Side note, if I start to cut out, let me know, guys, because I just realized that my Ethernet connection is not working correctly. So I may have to duck out at some point and jump back in. But so yeah, just let me know.
Okay. We will let you know.
Okay.
Right. Thing is, Celeborn is an awesome character, but he just doesn't get any play in these movies.
He gets a lot more in the extended cut than he does in the theatrical. He utters like one or two words in the original version.
Even in the extended cut, he doesn't get much.
He doesn't get much in the book either. I hate to break it to you, but he's a really minor character who is thoroughly overshadowed by his really awesome wife.
Yeah, well, he does have a pretty awesome wife.
As per.
Can I just say, like, okay?
Well, I mean, he is totally, Mr. Galadriel. She's the star.
Right. She's the star of the show. I do have. It's only in the extended edition, but it's where Gimli talks about the gift that he got from her. Basically, Frodo, here's a magical star. Here's some rope for you, Sam, and like here's all this cool stuff for everyone. Legolas, you're gonna get a new bow. Gimli, here is a sample of my DNA. But I actually think that is underrated. One of the most impactful scenes, if you know your Silmarillion.
Yeah.
Which Dan, you're the reason I know this. Do you want to tell the story about
Sure
the hairs and whatnot?
Do you want me to tell the whole story of the Silmarils? Because
it might require some
in the beginning, Eru LOTR created a.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I guess what I mean is, was it?
You better not leave out the music of the Feyenoor. We need to hear all of that.
Yeah.
Was it Feyenoor that asked
the migration of the elves, the Great Journey, and all that?
All that.
Explain all the different
that's not
subgroups of elves and so on. No, in the Silmarillion, there is a character called Feyenoor who is an elf who he is kind of a bit of a douche. He he was the greatest of all elves. We're told that he was, the most wonderful, most skilled, most beautiful elf of all time. And he created these 3 jewels which captured the light of the 2 trees of Valinor. And he was Galadriel's uncle. And he was inspired to create the Silmarils, it's said, by Galadriel's hair. And so originally he asked for a sample of her hair in order to do God knows what with it, to try to come up with something in order to recreate the same effect, in order to capture the light of the trees.
That's the official story of what he was doing.
It's kind of your mind immediately goes to he was a bit of a perv, basically, because Tolkien doesn't say this, of course, because it's Tolkien, but you kind of wonder if he has ulterior motives, and it's Feyenoor, skeevy guy.
Great.
But he asked 3 times for a sample of her hair, and she said no all 3 times. And in that passage, which was published in Unfinished Tales, it finishes with the wonderful line, and they were unfriends forever after.
Unfriends. That's a great word.
It's a really good word. Which I think Tolkien probably chose that word for like philological reasons, because him being the wordsmith that he was. But yeah, Tolkien, this account of the hair and the Feyenoor story was written after the Lord of the Rings, because Galadriel was a character who he wrote for the Lord of the Rings. She didn't exist in the original drafts of the Silmarillion that he wrote in the decades before he wrote the Lord of the Rings. So this was something that he retconned later on. But it's a wonderful imaginative retcon that really fits and makes a lot of sense. And so when Gimli asks for a sample of her hair, it's quite an important moment, and the elves that were present in that scene would have recognized that, because they would have known that story.
Which is why Forever After he's basically elf friend. Is that right? And it's also, if I remember from the reading of the book, it is from there that he and Legolas begin to develop their real friendship.
Yeah. It's before that, really. It's the effect that Lothlorien has on Gimli. Gimli, it changes him spiritually.
Mom is bringing up, one of my daughters is named Lorien after Lothlorien. So yeah. These movies have been affecting me for the whole time too. Obviously, we really loved them when they came out. We named one of our kids after it.
I love the aftermath of that scene in the film where they're rowing away and Gimli tells what he asked for to Legolas, and just the smile on Legolas's face. You can see the friendship beginning to form there.
Yeah.
Jess thinks that Feyenoor was worse than Jorah Mormont.
Agreed.
Interesting comparison.
So.
Agreed.
I mean, he is just
because of what Guilty Undertaker says right here.
Yeah.
Jorah never swore an oath of revenge that led to thousands of years of bloodshed.
And so far, Jorah hasn't burned ships.
Right.
That's obviously a cardinal sin on this panel.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Feyenoor is a great character and he's very interesting to read, but he is like just the worst.
Yeah, great character, terrible person.
The worst.
Yeah. But he is like the really fun part of, you know, the early sections of the Silmarillion to read. It's like once you get to the Feyenoord stuff, it's like it's very engaging. So like so that's the part. Like I hate the guy, but damn, he sure is interesting to read.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I guess maybe if I was going to pick my favorite bit, it is just Gimli. You know, the impact that Galadriel has on him. You know, here's one dwarf she won't snare so easily. And by the time he's genuinely fully in love with her. And
I'm sorry, I just love I have the eyes of a hawk and the ears of a fox.
I think in the book it's one of the hobbits that says something along those lines rather than Gimli. But I actually think I'd probably prefer Gimli saying that.
I think it's a great delivery too, except it's in the wrong accent. In my D&D world, my dwarves have Texas accents, not Scottish accents.
I love it.
Can you just imagine?
I like just like, hey y'all, you know, just like, hey y'all need some weapons made.
We take this ring yonder in Moria.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
we gotta cross that creek.
Gimli doesn't really stick to one absolute accent in these movies either. He tends to get a little bit more Scottish at times.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But no, you always want to give more material to John Rhys-Davies. He's just absolutely incredible. I remember it's in one of the early TV specials where Philippa Boyens said, you know, if you want to explain the culture of dwarves to an audience, you hire John Rhys-Davies as a dwarf, and he'll do the work for you.
He did it.
Yeah,
made sense to me.
I can't go on about John Rhys-Davies' other character yet. I gotta wait till next year.
Yeah, well, you can mention it, but yeah, like we were not going
to. Treebeard.
Yeah. Who was it? Matthew.
Oh, that's right, Treebeard. I thought we were switching movies.
Yeah.
No.
Indeed, they're digging in the wrong place. Which they made fun of him relentlessly for, or not made fun, but like were poking fun at him. I think it was Sean Astin who kept quoting Sala from Indy at him the whole time. Got on his nerves a little bit.
I like that. John Rhys-Davies is Welsh, but he's putting on a Scottish accent. It's funny. But you all know how much I love Wales, everyone. Like, always have.
I cannot roll my eyes enough. Like,
yep. Okay, sorry. All right,
I get it.
We're coming up on the halfway mark soon, so I want to throw a wild card out at you, okay?
Yes.
And I'm not going to make you go first, Kelly. Just anybody who has a good answer for this, okay? Let's rewind 22 years, and we're filming this film, and the Tom Bombadil stuff did not get cut. Who should play Tom Bombadil? Kelly.
I cannot say for like 22 years ago, but Jack Black.
Jack Black is a great choice.
Say, okay, you're leaning full on into the comedy, whereas
Yes.
I'm going for Brian Blessed.
Yeah, I agree with that actually.
Okay.
Brian Blessed would be good. A lot of people have suggested Robin Williams before. I've seen that a lot on social media and so on.
I see this one.
I don't know whether that fits.
Here's who I want: Kevin Hart.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, God. If we want him to like kind of like, you know, a spastic a little bit and a little neurotic.
Yeah, I like Brian Blessed.
Well, everybody else is going for comedians, and I'm just like trying to go for
I was thinking of
Shakespearean
someone
actor.
funny, jolly, but can also sing. Like that was my reasoning.
Jack Black does actually work.
Yeah.
If he can do an accent. I don't think.
Danny DeVito.
Oh, Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci. Seriously.
I'm finding all of this very scandalous.
Hey,
Look, John,
hey, Goldberry. Hey, Goldberry. Bring your basket out here.
Bring Dongadillo.
Yeah.
Where
were you? Where were you going?
Stop the pain.
I'm picturing Tom Bombadil with a baseball bat. You know,
What did you say?
John, just ride the wave. It'll pass. Just ride it with us. Okay, John, you ready? Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
As Goldberry, maybe. Maybe.
I mean, I've always said, like, if I was going to, I would never change any cast member of this movie, but the obvious one for me would have been Keira plays Arwen.
No.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's hard to get rid of Liv Tyler out of that.
No,
role.
I never would. I said, if you force me to replace somebody, you know, that's where I'm going. But yeah, no, I absolutely adore Liv Tyler in this, and she had a lot of naysayers before this film came out because you know most people just knew her from Armageddon, so they were like, "Oh, Liv Tyler, no." And then I think
also,
yeah, and I think that as soon as they started to see footage of her and what she was doing in the movie, they were very quickly silenced because she's phenomenal.
Yeah, she's great. Like, and we all know about the scratch, the cut on her cheek. You know, you can't have watched this film. I assume we've all seen the.
Just wait until next year. I'm gonna make sure everybody knows that Vito broke his toe.
John.
Oh, did he?
Everybody already knows. Like, everybody knows he broke his toe.
Really? Do they? I don't think you're right about that, Steve.
Everybody knows that she cut her cheek. Everybody knows he deflects the knife. Like, it's just these movies have been around for so long, and people love them so much. And the way, man, that special edition with all the extra, how many hours of bonus footage? 16 hours of specials about the making of the armor and the miniatures and the creature makeup and all of that. It's just, yeah, we've all seen that multiple times, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're trolling or not, Micah. He did break his toe, but not until the second movie.
I don't know which toe he broke. Nobody ever tells you which toe.
I
was
do.
It his big toe.
Well, it's the one that was.
I feel like it was
in the middle.
I believe it was the right big toe, or the right big and second toe.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what made contact with the helmet.
Yeah, he kicked it right-footed, didn't he? So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love that story because you watch him in the film and it's like he's totally giving himself over to that pain.
Oh, guys, that's next year. That's next year. Come on.
Next year.
Yeah. We did literally, like, as we were watching it, you know, Arwen comes in and I literally said to Dan, and thus we fell in love with Arwen. Like, it was just like, you can't help it.
And it's a great introduction to the way she appears, almost like an angelic vision coming through the trees. It's a really, because Frodo is seeing things differently since he's been stabbed by the Morgul blade.
Exactly.
He's seeing things more as they are.
Yeah, and it works. Like you're not even like pulled out by the fact that in his vision of her, you know, she's actually.
I thought she changed.
Yeah,
she just changed really quick.
Yeah, quick wardrobe change.
Yeah.
Just because she's got that glow about her, and it's just, and the way it's kind of slowed down, and you know, her line delivery, and it's just I keep using the word beautiful over and over, but yeah, it is.
It slightly parallels the Glorfindel stuff from the book. There's a moment in the book, for those who don't know, there's a character called Glorfindel who's another Silmarillion character who he shows up instead of Arwen in the book. And right before Frodo loses consciousness at the ford, before he reaches Rivendell, he sees Glorfindel in his true form as he existed in the unseen realm, and so yeah, it's very similar to that. So,
and the horse thing was provided by Gandalf.
The horse thing.
The fact that the water itself.
Oh, the river. Yes.
Yeah.
He later says, he added a little
Gandalf's
touch of his own.
That was me.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. The way
Glorfindel did most of that, but I was. Yeah.
Well, weren't the waves themselves? Didn't Elrond have something?
It was Elrond in the book who actually did it. Yeah. Because Glorfindel isn't there on the horse with Frodo either in the book. Frodo's alone in the book. But yeah, Gandalf later pipes up and says, "I did the white horses with the riders and everything else," and you kind of wonder why.
Thanks, Pop. All right.
So what was that?
All right,
for?
Grandpa. Yeah, sit back down. Yeah.
Because damn
it, Frodo, it looked cool. Don't question.
The rule of cool applies.
Yeah.
And I, for one, loved the aesthetic of that in the movie. The way that they animated it and made it feel like it was still water, but also had the horses. Like I will never forget the first time I saw that. I was just like, that is so cool.
What's interesting about that is that the CG for the horses was done by Digital Domain. There were a lot of companies that helped out with the visual effects, especially on this first film, because Weta was not the juggernaut that they are now, or even what they were, in the next couple of years. They were down to the wire with finishing a lot of the effects. So I think ILM even did some work.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know of course, Weta gets all the attention for this film, and rightly so. But I would not be surprised to learn that there were other contributors as well. I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, Leaf said she usually hates changes, but she prefers having Arwen do that stuff. I'm going to agree. There's very little female representation in the story to begin with.
And Arwen is such an important character for Aragorn, for his story. So it just, from the standpoint of story economy, it just makes more sense to utilize, her character than Glorfindel, who you're never going to see again. So,
right.
Yeah. It's a shame as a Silmarillion fan to lose Glorfindel, but you do understand it,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I will say though, talking about the Silmarillion, I was reading the Silmarillion while Lord of the Rings was out in theaters, and it was really cool going back to see that with all that background information and expanding the mythology. I was like, oh my god, this is even better.
In the Ralph Bakshi animated version, it's Legolas that shows up instead for some reason.
Well, again, story economy. You bring in a character that you're going to be caring about for the rest of the story.
Bad story economy, though.
We don't need to talk about Bakshi's adaptation here, but you know what? We have been going for a little over an hour. Why don't we do a quick mid-roll, and we'll get back to it. So yeah, this is the mid-roll. That means we're halfway through-ish. Might go a little long. If we're going to go long, today's the day to do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is a movie that warrants it. But yeah, this is the part of the stream where I say, everybody, please hit the like. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. I would appreciate it a great deal. We stream every Sunday at the same time. The topics vary all the time. It depends on what I'm interested in talking about, but I've got a lot of friends who are interested in talking about that stuff, as you can see. We'll get around to what I'm doing. we'll start with Kelly. Kelly, do you have anything coming up? I know you don't do a channel yourself, but you are a frequent contributor around our fan community.
Do I?
There's the joke. Well, if you are, you won't know till the day before.
That's true. Okay.
But I'm not going to announce on this stream that you have something coming up.
So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Please follow the Voice of Geekdom Facebook as well.
All right, right on.
Yeah.
Dan, what are you working on over there at Voice of Geekdom?
I'm kind of on a mini hiatus over Christmas, really. I've told you guys already, but I guess I'll announce to the chat. I am I'm in the process of kind of upping my game a little bit, and I am going to be renting an office from the new year. And in that office, I will be doing regular live streams every 2 weeks. I'm planning on doing to begin with. I'm going to get a read on how popular it'll be and who shows up. Might just be my friends every week. I don't know.
So it is every week here, but we don't care.
But initially, I'm going to be doing every 2 weeks. From I think I'm going to start from the 8th of January. It's not set in stone yet, but I'll let people know.
We're going to be a little busy.
Yeah, we'll be.
You guys are doing things in January, aren't you? Yeah,
we'll get to that in a minute, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I will be writing videos up until then. I'm working on a video right now about what is it? Interventions that the Valar make in the course of the story of the Lord of the Rings. So the Valar are mentioned a few times in the Lord of the Rings. Elbereth is mentioned quite often, who is sort of the goddess of light and starlight and so on. She's mentioned quite a bit in the Lord of the Rings, but it's just kind of it's kind of almost pseudo worship on the part of the elves when they mention her, and Frodo mentions her quite a lot. But there are a few different moments in the story of the Lord of the Rings where I would argue that the Valar are kind of behind the scenes pulling the strings. So I'm writing a video about that.
Sweet. So
that'll probably be my next thing. Last week I released the second half of chapter 16 of the Silmarillion. So if you haven't seen that yet, check that out as well.
It's getting dark.
Yeah, very much
Real
so. Yeah.
Dark.
Yeah, the next several chapters are full of people dying.
and links to both Kelly and Dan's Twitter are down in the description. Link to Dan's YouTube channel down in the description. So yeah, follow them. They're awesome people. Dan, I can't wait for your next whatever it is. Valar intervention in Middle Earth is going to be awesome, because I'm just going to be like, anytime an eagle shows up, that's a Valar intervention.
Praise Manway.
Kind of, yeah.
Praise Manway, right. Okay, John, how about you? What you got coming up?
First of all, I want to say well done, Cassie. We can't always fit in a rewatch, but it's yay to listen to the soundtrack. If you guys missed my stream last night, I streamed with Sydney from Trial by Stone, the Dark Crystal podcast, about Batman Returns. And we had a great conversation. We kind of strayed off topic in a couple places, which is always fun. So go ahead and check that out. And next week is going to be a bit different, because I decided not to try and stream on Christmas Day, because people might be a little busy. So instead, I'm doing a special stream coming up on this Wednesday, and who will be joining me? But my co-host, Amy Blackfire, will be coming back this week for a stream, and we're going to be talking about Love Actually. Of course, it's a Keira Knightley movie. Everybody should have seen that coming. So I just can't wait to do stream with her again. It's going to be lots of fun. So that'll be Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
That's the Wednesday after Christmas.
No, Wednesday.
No. It'll be this coming Wednesday.
This Wednesday coming. Okay.
Yeah.
What time? Minor Panic?
I think I will be playing D&D, unfortunately, but I'll watch it later.
I think I will too. But, we'll see. If not, if I am, I'll have it on in the background. And if not, I'll be in the chat. But what time was that, John?
It's 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
So it'll be the same time as always, just a different day.
Okay. But yeah, Love Actually. Cool.
Cassie, just so you know, originally it was Thursday, but Amy is going to have something that she has to attend on Thursday, so we moved it to Wednesday. So sorry about the confusion there. But if you can't make it, it's no sweat. The video will be up there for you guys to watch. But anybody who can make it, we would love to have you.
Need to make sure that I don't forget to shout out our patrons too. So I'm going to do that right now. Our patrons include our alpha patron and leader of our Patreon High Council, Ridiculous Ed Tollett, aka Sean, who I'll be playing D&D with on Wednesday instead of watching a Love Actually stream, unfortunately. But our High Council also consists of Lord John Bronsteen the Wise, Sixto Sounds, aka JP the Axe Grinder, and the lovely Lady Leaf Underhill. And they are supported by the lords and ladies of the realm, including Ryan Stavka, the Russian Quartermaster, Reflective Rambling, and Arch-Maester Emma. Thank you, patrons. We love you guys. Kelly, you're a patron also. Just going to shout that out since you're on here. You are a Landed Knight patron who don't get like mid-roll shout-outs, but when you're on the show, you get one. And we love you for it.
I didn't get one last week.
Well, I literally just forgot.
All right. Appreciate it.
Which shouldn't surprise anybody. And I am also a proud patron of Dan's Patreon.
You're one of my alpha patrons.
I think Aaron beat me by seconds.
Yes.
I'm still so effing bitter about that too.
Me too.
I'm so bitter that I was not first.
Yeah.
I'm like kind of John. What? Oh, okay. So, is that the score?
Yeah, I'm just showing things off. Sorry.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can grab my Balrog real quick.
Yeah, go grab your Balrog.
I can whip out a Maya.
Let's talk about what's coming up on Here Be Dragons, though. Next week, we will be covering the first half of the final season of The Expanse. It has been fantastic so far. I love this show. We've probably talked more about The Expanse on this channel than any other individual property. So, and it's the final season, so this is
which
it.
I just watched the second episode last night, and I was trying going along for a little while, that's pretty good, and then some shit went down, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Go watch The Expanse. You need to start The Expanse. Matthew, I agree that it is my favorite science fiction show I've ever seen. Your mileage may vary. I know, John, you put like BSG maybe one step above it or something like that. Yeah. But still, it's way up there. It's so good. The week after that, we will be covering season 2 of The Witcher, because I've finished it, by the way. For those of you who haven't, go ahead and watch it. But yeah, I binged it in basically 2 days.
I think I said yesterday I had already watched one episode, episode 3, I think, yesterday when I told you, and then I was like, I'm going to try and from now on just tackle an episode a day. Mm-hmm. I've got through episode 5 last night. So.
Yeah.
Are we talking Witcher?
The Witcher, yeah.
I missed. Yeah, I finished it earlier as well.
Yeah,
It's really good actually. I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
But
I've read most of the books. I haven't finished them, but they've diverged from the books quite a lot. But I really liked it anyway.
Yeah, I think it's great. I haven't read the books.
I think possibly more than the books actually.
Right on. Okay, so that is next week, The Expanse. The week after that is The Witcher. And then the week after that is a little thing called Here Be Con. Kelly is going to be there. John is going to be there. Our other regular co-host, Nessie, is going to be there. So is this lady. Maybe not Kate because she's Canadian and is having trouble with the border, but like maybe Kate.
Kate,
my heart.
Kate, I understand if it ends up to where it can't happen, but I really, I hope it can happen because you got to be there.
Right, like you're one of the inner circle, man. I really want you to be there too. But all that being said, there is room for a few people to still come and join us because some people have had to drop out. If you want to come hang out with us for a whole friggin' week in a really nice Airbnb in Dallas, we're going to be like from the 8th to the 16th. That's what we're doing. And so on the 8th, on the 9th, we will be live streaming, but it will be a special edition of I Know That Nerd called I Know These Nerds, where we might just point a camera at a couch and let chaos ensue for a couple weeks.
All right, I'm gonna have to whip out something big here.
Uh-oh. I'm not sure I like.
Right, I should show what one of them actually is.
Oh yeah, that's right. You talked about this last night. Yeah.
Yeah.
The goblet.
There's Gandalf. I don't know if you can really see that well.
This is a pre-movie Gandalf. It's like Gandalf, a wizard from J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
Yeah. Like
staff,
sword.
He's got Glamdring.
Yep.
Yeah. He's got some sort of orb there as well.
Yeah, he's always things to pondering an orb there. Yeah. So,
and I mentioned official movie guides before. This is like the first, kind of book that I bought for the movies, which was written by Brian Sibley. It's the Lord of the Rings official movie guide, and
I do have that too. Not on me at the moment. But...
Look, all right.
Unfortunately, Dan's stuff is kind of packed up. So
yeah, I just moved house. I don't even have my coconuts.
Nice.
This is it. Now, so just so you know, this is it. This is my Lord of the Rings stuff.
I'm not even gonna
But you guys also know I am not a book collector person at all.
I mean, I pulled out my newest hardcover collectors.
I mean,
edition,
I have that too. I had it when it came out.
Okay, fine. But I could pull out like a million other editions of Lord of the Rings, but I don't know how much more room I have on my bed after all this other stuff. So
it's hard to tell, but that's all hardcovers and collector's editions up there. And then you've got like all the paperbacks kind of like in this area. There's also some hardcovers like Tolkien, the illustrator, David Day's Tolkien Bestiary. There's also a bunch of RPG or like tabletop guides for Tolkien themed play. Like if you're playing, something D&D. Yeah, I've got Minas Tirith, Middle Earth. I also have Shelob's Lair. I'm not going to pull that out for Leaf's sake.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all great, but
all right, you know what?
Billy Boyd signed my.
That's a winner right there.
Do you want me to go get a picture of me and Billy Boyd?
I have a picture of me and Billy Boyd, so
okay.
I can pull that
okay.
up too.
All right. Enough measuring. We're going to move on because I do want to make sure if anybody is even thinking about wanting to come to HereBeCon, you can send me an email to this email address, herebecon@gmail.com, and I will walk you through the process. It is not a cheap vacation, but when you figure that what it costs for the 8 days, it's pretty not bad. Am I right, guys?
Yeah, and please, like, if you even think you might be able to come, just come.
And I will also say that we have our Slack group. It is our sort of online community. Here Be Dragons is a channel, but it is also a community of like-minded people who love and support each other. And we have a Slack group. Send me an email at we3dragons@gmail.com. We'll get you in there. It's basically like having our chat section, but it goes
which basically this has kind of become the whole reason that my channel even exists, because basically what it is I lure people on there that I want to talk to, and then I'm like, hey, by the way, would you like to join our Slack group? And really, I'm just bringing them all into the cult.
So Lady Starfall, I'm not sure if you want to join the Slack or if you want to do HereBeCon, but just send me an email to we3dragons@gmail.com, and I will get with you after the stream. All right. I think that is it. That was a long mid-roll. Let's get back to the movie.
I just noticed the time. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, but we were, we were doing a lot of competition for memorabilia mixed in there. So
that's so true, Kate. The Manson family has got nothing on us.
Facts. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you to pick a favorite character from this film because it's probably nigh impossible. But I want to make sure that I give a little bit of love to one of my personal favorites, and that is Pippin. I mean, he's not my favorite maybe in this film. It might be Boromir or Sam, but when you look at the story as a whole, man, just where Pippin comes from and where he ends up is such a fantastic arc. Yeah. Cassie gets it. Pippin is he's just the best because he's just a big dope, a big curious idiot who can't keep his hands to himself, and it costs him, and he still has trouble learning in the moment, but even down to at the end when Frodo has decided that he's got to go off by himself, and Merry and Pippin are looking at him, come here, and Merry says he's leaving, but Pippin is the one that takes it upon himself to start shouting at the orcs to get their attention. Just everybody deserves a homie like Pippin.
And then he starts saying, "It's working! It's working!"
I know it's working.
I love that.
And the thing is, also great character, great performance, but it also helps that, and this is true of Dominic Monaghan as well, but Billy Boyd is just the sweetest guy in the world. And I remember the first time I watched the TV special, which I remember it was a cheesy half-hour Fox thing for Lord of the Rings, and you hear him open his mouth where he's talking about hobbits, and he goes, they love food, they love life, in his Scottish accent, and immediately I was like, oh my god, I love this guy.
And if you haven't watched Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan's their podcast. The Friendship Onion, it is solid gold.
It's great, and it really warms my heart that you like the fact that they became such close friends and that they're still the absolute best of friends. They're brothers practically, and I love that everybody from these movies is still that close. And it's one of those things where you realize that, okay, it wasn't just a bunch of Hollywood BS for the sake of like getting the audience invested in these movies. Like, it was real, as far as, how close they all were and the passion that went into this project.
They had
Yeah.
Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer on the other day, didn't they?
It was so good.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that yet, but I need to.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
I think he's going to be on next week too. So like, that's
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah, they go back to back when they get a good guest. I've seen them do back to back a few times.
I mean, I think for you and me, Stephen, like that's just the perfect mixture of like our pop culture obsessions.
Right. It's good stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that Pippin got his due from me. I love that character. He's not my favorite character in the series, but I think he is probably my most underrated character in the series. I guess that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think his performance across the films, it's hard to say that anybody's been underrated in these films because everybody loves the whole cast, but I do feel like he is underappreciated because where he goes throughout the trilogy is just for someone who's, the first movie starts off and he could be classified as a side character, but he brings such emotion and heart to his performance that he's just amazing.
A friend of mine in the Tolkien YouTube community, he's bigger on TikTok. He's a guy called New Better Do Better. Did a video on which member of the Fellowship is which member of the Wu-Tang Clan. And you know me, I do enjoy the hip hop. And
all right,
Pippin,
that is not where I was expecting that to go. So.
I know you weren't. Pippin is Old Dirty Bastard. If you know hip hop, you know why that makes sense.
Well, okay then.
Pippin ain't nothing to F with. The Tukes ain't nothing to F with.
Right.
Exactly.
No, I will say for me, this movie specifically, it's Sean Bean as Boromir. I mean, I said before, that's a character who you don't expect to care that much for based off of the book. And even like, it's funny because I knew Sean Bean was playing the part when I was reading the book. And I knew him from GoldenEye, but it still didn't elicit the kind of emotional response that when I actually saw the film and you get the heartbreak of, his death scene and the my brother, my captain, my king, all of that. It's just like, oh God.
My bro, my captain, my king, bro.
Which, a side note, like it's been talked about before, but that's something that's so great about these films is it's a wonderful showcase of like non-toxic masculinity and this kinship and sense of real emotional brotherhood. You know,
like he literally kisses him.
Yeah.
Shortly after.
Real men kiss each other on the forehead.
Yes.
And call each other king. Okay. Yeah,
like it's okay. You could be a little, that kind of emotional vulnerability is a good thing. You're right. I have seen the Aragorn as the ideal of non-toxic masculinity comment, and I couldn't agree more. Like there are very few characters I can think of in any media that I can hold to that level of just nailing the leadership, but without ego, that Viggo pulled off.
Yeah.
And I understand, in the books, he's not nearly as reluctant to be in that position as he is portrayed in the films, but I think that's a good.
Well, it's a sign of like the different times because, I mean, it's 20 years ago now, but even then, we liked and it had been the case for a while that we liked our reluctant heroes versus what Tolkien was writing. He was writing in the vein of those old mythological tales where you got the hero who's going to stand up tall and hold up his sword and say, I am the heir of Isildur.
I think that's a slight misunderstanding, though, in a sense, because Aragorn in the book, his hero's journey had already happened. He'd already had that kind of story arc before we meet him in the books. In a way, it's not arrogance for book Aragorn to be the way he is, because he's become the chieftain of the Dunedain. He's become who he is already. But yeah, he's a different genre and different type of character in the books. But,
yeah, he's a more Beowulf type character in the books.
Yes, yeah, that's a good comparison to make for sure. Yeah.
Okay, you know what? The floor is open for chatters too. If there's something that you think we ought to cover, go ahead and throw it in the chat.
I have a question.
Sure.
Dan already knows my answer, but at what point would you have just sat down and gave up? Like in the story itself, no, I'm not going any further.
So you guys are going home?
Yeah.
If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest.
Like if my life has shown anything, it's that's the moment where I turn around.
I think my real answer might be like after Weathertop.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Midgewater Marshes. In the extended edition, we commented on it when we were watching it. The scene where the hobbits are like, "What do they eat when they can't get hobbit?" I think it's Merry says.
Yeah. No, it's like if we're talking.
That's when I would go back.
Like realistically, and to be honest, I'm on board for myself with Sam's thing about this is the farthest I've ever been. But if I'm going to be pushed further, I'm going to say like after Bree, I'm like, hell no. Bye, guys. Enjoy your little trip into the woods. I'm out of here.
After you're talking about after the Nazgul show up and stab a bunch of pillows?
Yeah, because
or like the fact that Gandalf just isn't at that pub and you're just like, well, damn, I'm gonna have my pint and go home.
No. It's after the Nazgul come in.
Okay.
Hang on a second. Future reference. To my mods, if you see a comment like this, please delete it. Thank you. That is all. This type of comment right here, please just go ahead and delete it. I've already taken care of this one, but in the future, if a mod could take care of that, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, mods.
Thank you, mods. You guys are awesome.
What is that? Are they trying to send us
It's probably a link to porn or something like that with a space between the dot. Just like it happens. This channel is just big enough to attract that kind of attention.
Yay, recognition from
Stephen, we talked about this the other night, how the comments, you just spend a lot of time deleting porn in your YouTube comments.
Right. But it comes with the territory.
I mean, is it elf porn?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
No.
No, I checked. No, I'm just kidding.
So what point are you turning back then, Kelly?
So it was in Moria when they come up to those steps and there's a chunk missing. I'd have sat my happy ass down and be like, nope.
I'm
just gonna die here. I'm just gonna die here.
That's pretty far. I have to say, you have my admiration, Kelly.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about what I do, I kind of do dumb stuff. I play with explosives. I climb up really, really high. But at that point, I'm just like, nah, I'm done. Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, the Bridge of Khazad-dûm would not be my favorite thing, and I don't really have like a fear of heights, but I'm also not an idiot, and I'm like, this looks dangerous, y'all.
When he's like, the bridge is near, and then they show it, that's the biggest nope. No, that's
But
for
I feel
me.
like if you've already gotten to that point, like, don't you at least want to live at, at that point and then get out of Moria, and then you're like, all right, screw you guys, I'm going home.
The steps thing. Oh my, I can't. Talk about like clenching the whole time. Just like that. Oh my God. No, I can't.
At that point, you've already been up Caradhras, though, and so on. So, like, you've seen some stuff.
Mm-hmm. I have seen some stuff.
I do just want to talk while we're talking about the,
that's a no bridge.
Like the bridges and the staircases and everything, for a sequence that's not in the book. Like, the whole thing with the staircase is brilliant. Just ratcheting up the tension, and the whole thing with Aragorn and Frodo, like, sort of balancing on it, and it's just like, it's insanity.
I think I said this last year on John's channel, and I think probably people know, but that was based on a painting that John Howe made of Moria, where he painted some cracks in those stairs, and then Peter Jackson took a look at the concept art and just said, I can do something with this, and decided that he was going to include that whole sequence. That sequence is not in the books, but it speaks a lot for the power of good concept art. I think that that idea came about because of that.
Which, like, we haven't even really given them their proper due. Like, Alan Lee and John Howe. Dear God, these films would never have been what they were without those two. I mean, it's just, it's the whole reason why, the vast majority of people will go into this movie and they're like, it's exactly how I pictured it. It's because, they illustrated so much of Middle Earth for so many years.
Yeah, you can definitely feel that. Like, I've seen a lot of Lord of the Rings art in my day, and I'm with you. Like, it has a feel to it. Like, Lord of the Rings is technically high fantasy, but it is not as high fantasy as some other properties you will come across. There's nobody's flinging fireballs, and you get the occasional thing that's like a Balrog, but
yeah, Gandalf's magic is very restrained.
Subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people are like, tentacle monster. Nope.
They don't know that's there though until it starts, molesting Frodo,
I definitely would have ran into the mountain at that point.
Still, Bill the Pony is the one who, is taking the right course, even though, like, it's not entirely his decision, but still, it's like, yep, I'm going home.
We made a note that is after Caradhras, so it's like that poor horse had to come up there with them. Although we didn't, see it actually, like, struggling through the snow.
But that is another one of those, like, little moments. They don't need to have a "Bye, Bill the Pony" moment in the film.
No, they do need to.
Well, because there's more made of, like, Bill the Pony in the book, so I feel like that was kind of for book readers, and also so that you're not left wondering what happened to the poor pony.
Yeah, but like but again, as you say, it doesn't figure very prominently, and you could be they just left him behind. But
Bill's character arc matters. But
it's not just for Bill; it's for Sam as well. It's a loss for Sam to lose Bill the Pony in that
Which,
moment.
by the way, I want to reassure people who haven't read the books that's, like, at the end of Return of the King, Bill the Pony shows up at in Bree, so, like, he does reappear, so he's okay. I know these are the things I would be concerned about.
I'm gonna now I'm gonna hold my peace until we get to the boat part.
We're there.
Boats. Yes,
Boats,
please.
boats. Okay, hold on.
Kate.
All right.
Kate's
So-
fussing about spoilers, y'all.
I don't know. Let me know how well you can see this. Oh, hold on. Open
Can't see
aperture.
anything.
We'll see.
Okay.
Can
Anyway,
y'all
yeah.
see? Can y'all see the boat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The swan boat.
Yeah.
Oh, the swan pedalo. Yeah.
Yeah. This is my bedroom, but this used to be my daughter Lorian's bedroom, named after a lost Lorian. So there's a boat painted on the wall there. My half sister painted it. There's a castle on the wall and some trees too. But when did y'all see the boat?
Boat. Yeah.
But when I was watching this again, like, obviously I have so many favorite lines, but the one I'm going to talk about right now is when, Frodo is making his escape and Sam comes running after him. The line, Sam, I'm going to Mordor alone. Of course you are, and I'm coming with you.
It is one of the best lines
Because there's been so much, death and heartache and tension, and it's just the right line and the right delivery to just allow you that moment of pure laughter, and it's just perfect.
Galadriel must have made that boat with the ships of the Teleri in mind. Plausible.
I appreciate.
I really like the idea of, they're swan boats. A swan is a waterfowl. It's a perfectly legitimate thing to think of a swan on the water. But I also think about the way I think of the elves going to Valinor. Like Valinor is west, but it's straight west. The earth curves, but the path to Valinor is straight. So at some point you're probably in the air. So I love the idea of having bird imagery crossed with the boat imagery there in the context of elves. Because you will have to eventually, fly to get to Valinor. Because Kelly, you can sail west for a long time, but you keep falling, you keep going down too. Is the earth?
Yeah, I
right?
haven't been. Yeah, I have yet to be on a boat that took wing.
Right.
But funny enough, I did shortly after sailing on the United States Coast Guard bark Eagle. I actually had a dream where I was on a boat and I had looked over the edge and I could see the tops of trees and I was like, "It's flying." The boat is flying. I have a lot of dreams like that. I just so sometimes sailing feels like flying, or it feels like you're actually flying. I sailed with one guy who's a NASA engineer, and he was like, "Sailing is just flying sideways," and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, yes, physics, yes, this is true." But I would like to give props to the movie for having the cast actually go through small boat handling lessons, because it really affects the way you see them handling the boats. You don't have to worry too much about having stunt doubles in the boats or anything. Just having them go through the effort of having small boat handling lessons. And reading the book, you can tell, as the whole thing with passing the Argonath and that whole chapter, Tolkien has done this before. He has actually handled a boat. And this is a class that you have to take. I wish that they had bothered in Battle of Five Armies with that.
Okay.
Because if
you want to hear about Battle of the Five Armies, John did a stream on it. Both of these lovely people were on there just a couple weeks ago,
which was thoroughly entertaining.
It was 5.5 hours long too, so just be aware of what you're getting into. And there's no timestamps. You're just going to have to go through the whole thing.
Okay.
I did notice that I got like a lot of views from people who like tuned in live and like directly afterwards, and the views have kind of tapered off. I've noticed. That probably has to do with the length.
Here's a question that Sean asked. I think is really good. Was the island I'm going to paraphrase because I think he's got a misspelling in here or like a misphrase. But that island, Valinor, was it pulled off by birds, or did the
Valinor? It's not an island. I mean, it's.
Well, it's the island of Tol Eressëa is the island he's talking about. Which
okay.
I think the Silmarillion, the published Silmarillion, has it moved by Ulmo, the Valar. Yeah,
Ulmo used it to ferry the Vanyar. I think,
but it doesn't really go into details about how he did that. Because I always wonder, was it detached from like the seabed, or was it just kind of like raised from the seabed and nudged along, or like how did the physics of that actually work?
Fantasy physics. It's fantasy physics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but the answer to that question is we're not sure.
Yeah, no, but it varies depending on which version, because I'm pretty sure in the Book of Lost Tales version, which is the very, very early drafts of the Silmarillion, there's another Valar involved as well, who I'm slightly drunk, so I'm forgetting his name.
Bob
the Valar. Bob the Valar. Yeah, so it varies depending on who's doing the which version of it.
Are you talking about Ossé?
Ossé, yeah, that's the guy. Yeah.
No,
Ossé is involved.
Ossé,
I'm pretty sure it's Bob.
Unin. Okay, yes, Bob, also known as Ossé.
No, wrong movie. That has to wait until next year.
Yeah, his friends call him Bob.
I do want to, before we get
Shanti got me to this one. This one made me laugh.
Yeah.
Never say law or physics. Nice.
I want to just give due to Sir Ian Holm for his performance as Bilbo, because we haven't really talked much about him. He obviously passed away a little while ago, and he also voiced Frodo in the BBC radio play. I have lots of love for him, and I just remember having this memory of taking that official movie guide to school and showing my TV production teacher, who was also looking forward to the movie coming out, and I was showing him the cast list of people who were playing which part, and he came across the page that had Ian Holm as Bilbo, and he just chuckled at that because he found it very humorous. And but yeah, it's just the moment you first see him in the theatrical version is when he opens the door, and when Gandalf is standing right there, and it's just as the camera comes down and they hug, and Howard Shore's music, and it's from the get-go, I was like, that's Bilbo.
Hold on a second. Is this the first time you've said Howard Shore this entire stream?
No, it is not.
Well, it's like maybe only the second time.
No, I've mentioned the music a couple times.
Okay, but have you said Howard Shore?
Well, I know for sure that I said it well, I don't want to say for sure because people can go back and check.
Right.
But when I was talking about the Dwaradelf music, I'm pretty sure I said his name.
Yeah, I would have expected to hear it more, but yes, like it's one of the unsung heroes of this movie, or the sung heroes of this movie.
Yeah, it's. I remember when the movies were out. I was so completely blown away by the music, and then for every new movie I saw, I was like, well, it's not Howard Shore, and I feel more that way, where it's like, you know, it's that way for the movies themselves too. But I'm always comparing every piece of music in movies, you know, particularly to the score for Lord of the Rings, and nothing ever measures up.
Hey, John,
so it's ruined you. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, these movies have completely ruined me. Like, that's why they're still my favorite of all time, because nothing can ever compare.
You want to answer this question for Lady Starfall real quick? She says she's finna get she says fixing to. I say fitna. Get the Lord of the Rings extended version 4K. Do you recommend getting the one with the theatrical Blu-ray?
If you're gonna get any, 4K first, okay, let me quantify this. If you already have the original Blu-ray set and you have all the bonus material, then I recommend getting the 4K box set, which includes the films remastered in 4K, remastered on Blu-ray, extended and theatrical, and it has a couple of new bonus features. What it doesn't have is all those documentaries, the appendices from the older set. So I'd say get that so long as you have the older stuff. Then you'll have everything. If you don't have those older sets, I know they just released like some new Blu-ray sets that have all the bonus material plus the films remastered, but not the actual 4K discs. So it's very confusing, but if you have the old thing, just get the big box set.
Also, make sure that you buy the VHS. When the apocalypse happens.
Yes, yeah. Also, also make sure it's not opened.
Okay, she's got the original extended and the Blu-ray of extended.
Okay, yeah, then just go ahead and get get the big box set, because that's got both Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit extended, theatrical, all remastered, and the bonus features are basically 3 reunions with like cast members and stuff for each film, and also the original reel that they did for the Cannes Film Festival. So yeah, then you'll have everything.
It's a good question though, because I didn't realize how technical an answer that was going to warrant.
Yeah. I know, because it's a real loss if people are like haven't bought anything before and they're expecting to get all the bonus features with the new box set. You don't get that. So
that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah, I have all the old ones, actually, like the ones where each film has like 4 discs in it, 1 for the film and 3 discs of bonus features.
I mean, you're not wrong, Danny.
Right?
That's okay. I'm going to further complicate matters by saying that also, like, for people who don't have 4K and they're not interested in having those actual discs, like I said, they've released like new packages that, have the remastered versions for the theatrical, and then one for the extended, which also has all the appendices and stuff. So if you don't want the Hobbit and you just want the remastered versions of the movies, you can get those box sets too. They're just not in 4K.
All right. Okay.
Now that I made everybody tired with my
no.
Yeah, this information is appreciated.
Yeah.
Not by me, but I'm sure others.
Guys, I mean, I'm fine with running over a little bit. Dan, I know it's getting late for you.
I don't mind. I'll go over.
So, but we're getting close to the 2-hour mark. If there's something that we need to talk about, go ahead and bring it up. There's a lot of stuff that we could talk about.
I wanted to say that when the films started kind of replaying over and over on TNT, like I didn't realize that my dad started watching them. And my mom told me later on, like every time it was on, my dad would watch them like over and over and over. It didn't matter how many times it would come on in the same month or week. And so he would ask me about the story and about it. So it was kind of like one more like nerdy bonding experiences that I was able to have with my dad. But his favorite character was Pippin, but followed followed very closely by Arwen, because that scene where she's fleeing with Frodo on horseback and crossing the Bruinen, that's his favorite scene. Out of I want to say that movie, I would say. Yeah, my dad loves horses. He likes Liv Tyler. Yeah, it just that was one of the things. It was a while after the movies came out. I know he and my mom did not go to the theaters to see it, but it was appreciated later on, and like really, really appreciated. He absolutely fell in love with the story.
Yeah, it's a great scene too. The chase in the river.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love how she's kind of ducks and weaves through the trees to try and lose Nazgul.
That was something that he really appreciated as well. A lot of the horse work specifically that the cast and stunt people had to perform, and not to mention the horses as well. Jess, horse appreciation and Liv Tyler appreciation. All right.
I mean, we all have Liv Tyler appreciation.
Yeah.
Less I.
There's a funny story that she told in an interview with when she was on Colbert about when her dad, Steven Tyler, famous lead singer of Aerosmith, first saw the movie. He was convinced that it was somebody else's voice dubbed over her, because she's really like speaking in the deep part of her voice and putting on an accent. And he's like, "Who is that?" And she's like, "Dad, that's me." He's like, "No, it's not you. You don't sound like that." And she's like, "I'm an actor, Dad."
That's awesome.
I also love that interview because Colbert had her reenact,
reenact
holding up and he had the sword, of course.
Yeah, and he's like laying in her lap like Frodo did. It's
every nerd wants to be Stephen Colbert in that moment.
Yeah, no kidding. You're not wrong, Eric. You're not wrong.
Yeah, and it's funny you were mentioning Empire Records, but I first saw her in the movie That Thing You Do, which is a movie I love. Speaking of which, I should do a stream about that one day. But I pretty much fell in love with her in that movie, and then so that's why I was really excited that she was cast in this movie, even though like I didn't know what Lord of the Rings was at the time that it was announced, but yeah, it was cool to see her getting a part in a really big. Oh yeah,
sorry, like I'm just going through your pictures and now I'm like, oh wait a minute, Galadriel. And she's right. I would love her in despair. I really would.
Dan and I, she was like, I passed the test. I was like, did you? Is that what that was?
Well,
That
because
was you passing the test. Yeah.
well,
She did
because she
deny the
didn't.
ring.
She passed the crazy test.
Yeah.
Well, she did. Yeah, she was tempted, and we got nuclear Galadriel, but she did eventually refuse to take it. So
It's a very
She was green and glowing in the dark.
Yeah.
It's a very spooky portrayal of Galadriel that we got from Cate Blanchett.
Which also, like, again, talking about the fact that I was watching the theatrical version today, you don't even get the extended gift giving sequence that shows her lighter side. So she does come across very, intense and scary in the original version.
And to think that's Hela from Thor Ragnarok too. Like the woman can play a lot. She's got a range. For sure.
I was just watching. I'm like, oh my god, she was practically a baby.
Very young in this film.
Yeah.
But I mean, how old is Galadriel? 7,000 years old or something crazy like that. Beautiful and treacherous as the sea.
Yeah,
that is correct. That's another one where because she's so calm in her delivery of everything, to the point that like half the time her mouth isn't moving when she's talking. Everything about her is so subdued, and then it is just not subdued at all.
I really like the few seconds after she comes out of that like Super Saiyan mode that she's in there, and,
she's like,
and then she kind of like goes, oh,
yeah.
The face that she makes is like, whoa, what just happened? Like,
what a rush!
I just remembered one. I just remembered another one of my favorite moments. I hope this doesn't peak the audio too much, but it's Bilbo Baggins. You're not fit for some conjurer of cheap tricks.
Well, because I was watching the remastered version today, they reworked the sound mix a bit, and that part was really loud. It was
it's
took
loud.
me even off guard.
The way the camera angle changes, so it looks like he grows taller, and the room darkens, and his voice deepens. Like, what? It's a very effective way of showing his magical power.
Somebody did a meme that is like the reverse of it, where it says, Bilbo Baggins, I am not trying to help you, I'm trying to rob you.
I said the same thing when we watched it the other day. Yeah.
I had to comment, like, Bilbo was literally about to throw hands. Like, he literally, like,
he did.
Like,
he
wow.
did.
Yeah.
That's what the ring can do to you, though. It makes you think that you can beat up a all-powerful Maya.
Yeah.
10,000-year-old.
That scene is what follows after that is so good, just showing their close relationship, and the way Gandalf says, "Trust me as you once did," and then I love when then Bilbo's like, "You're right, Gandalf. The ring shall go to Frodo," and then he tries to walk out. Gandalf goes, Bilbo.
Dan also commented on that. Like, he thinks he's slick. Like, he's like, "Yep. Anyway, gotta go."
Actually, I don't think he's being slick in that moment. I think the ring literally does not want to let go.
Well, that too, but it's also him being kind of like, it's the way it's delivered. You can tell he's like, well, I must be off, and he's just trying to sneak out of there. It's great. And then, of course, when he does drop the ring, the way it just the sound of that, the way it hits the ground, it's and again, I'll say his name again, Howard Shore. The way he writes that moment as Bilbo's trying to let the ring go, and like the strings and stuff, and as the camera pushes in on Gandalf, just watching him, and it's everything about these movies is so brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? We're here at the end. Let me hear. Nobody has said a single real critique about this film.
And I will never.
Yeah, I know you won't, John, but some of us are probably a little more objective about it.
in Rivendell, when Bilbo goes kind of like a little like mad, like, and his
Yeah,
his
the
eyes and
mad.
everything, I was like, this is when everybody collectively shat themselves.
Right.
I remember
We're all,
specifically
like,
like
traumatized.
everybody like shrieked in the theater, and then it was followed up immediately by laughing because they were so
Nervous.
scared.
Yeah.
It's just nervous laughter. No, the funny thing about Bilbo and Rivendell, I always remember Ian McKellen saying this. Apparently, when they were on set, he like saw Bilbo and the makeup with the white hair and everything. He's like, yeah, Ian, you look just like Judi Dench's mother.
Oh, dude. I will say, like,
there was people taking the piss out of each other.
There was a tweet went around at some point. It's like we're gonna remake the Lord of the Rings, but it has one F-bomb in it. Where do you put it? And I'm like, my response was, Frodo says it, in that scene with Bilbo and Rivendell. That's when your F-bomb gets dropped in the movie.
I still agree with like if it's gonna be anywhere in the trilogy, it's gonna be in the second one when Legolas is talking about Fangorn Forest. He's like, this forest is old, and it's like old as. It's just like such a casual casual little like dropping F bomb.
Maybe when Aragorn kicks the helmet and breaks his toes.
Yeah.
Or when the horse is about to stamp on Pippin.
You're right, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Or when the lava's about to kill them on the slopes of Mount Doom.
I think the F word, or I think that fits in a lot of places.
I saw on Twitter today somebody saying that the Witcher season 2 made them want to see the Lord of the Rings remade with swearing in it, because that was what they were missing in the Lord of the Rings, was lots of profanity.
I'm sorry,
John. Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah.
Like, let The Witcher be The Witcher. It's great. Let Lord of the Rings be Lord of the Rings. It's
exactly.
Great.
Yeah. The Witcher is the best version of The Witcher, and the Lord of the Rings is his own thing. Gandalf telling Wormtongue to F off.
If you want to see Lord of the Rings characters spouting profanity, just watch the MTV Movie Awards speech where Gollum accepted, best villain or whatever, where he goes off on everybody from Andy Serkis to Peter Jackson. All I remember is, Peter Jackson, my precious, who do you think you are, you fucking hack?
You know what? If there's
Sean, drive safe.
Yeah, be careful out there, Sean. We love you, buddy. Drive safe. I know it's a bit snowy up there where you're at. He's heading home from work, he just said. Should there be a Muppets Lord of the Rings? Which Muppets should play which character, and which characters should be played by actors? Which character or characters?
I'm leave me out of this.
Okay. I think that it can be done. I think it would be interesting. All I want John Noble's Denethor to be the only human in the film.
I mean, no, because and this is digging back into internet obscurity, but the only choice for that is you have to actually cut Eric Stoltz into the picture and have him be the only person. Sorry, that's a reference to a Pulp Fiction Muppet trailer where he's the only real actor left in there. So,
it would be weird. I mean, I love the Muppets, and like it would be a toned down, silly version of the story. But yeah, I would watch the hell out of a Muppets Lord of the Rings. It's a great story. The Muppets are great characters.
Kate says put in Elrond. Actually, that's the one that I would pick to be
Elrond
to remain a real actor.
Just a way to force Hugo Weaving into just like doing more of this.
Right.
Already wasn't, too keen on it anyway.
Hugo Weaving is the one actor that I might consider changing from the actual cast. For the most part, I've got no problems with any of the casting, but he's the one person I might consider changing if we could recast one character. I really like Hugo Weaving as an actor. I think he's a good actor, but I'm not sure he's who I would have picked for Elrond.
I mean, I love him in the part. I think a large part of it is just because of the timing of the fact that The Matrix came out,
so
in
recently,
99.
Yeah.
And
I'm not going to lie, all I saw was Agent Smith.
Yeah, there were people absolutely convinced that he says to Frodo in his first appearance, "Welcome to Rivendell, Mr. Baggins." As in like,
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
And like, I remember at the time being like, he doesn't say Mr. Baggins. So, but yeah.
But as far as who would play what, like Miss Piggy is of course Arwen, which means, her romantic lead is going to be Aragorn as Kermit, of course. Gimli is Gonzo, right?
I
don't know. Santi says Kermit is Frodo and Gonzo is Sam.
I was thinking Animal is Sam because that'd just be freaking like balls trippy. Like
Sweetums as Sam. Do y'all know who Sweetums is?
I just want. Nah.
I'm struggling to remember which Muppet is which, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, maybe Gonzo is Legolas and Rizzo the Rat is Gimli.
Okay.
Rizzo the Rat, yeah, okay.
Oh, so I am gonna feel free to rebut me on this and to refute or whatever, but it is true that throughout this entire series, Legolas says, "And my bow," to Frodo, and that is it. That is the only thing he ever says to him.
There was also in Moria, I think when he's like, "Come on."
Okay, but he's speaking to the group.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And I
mean, it's just gonna happen with a huge ensemble cast, and the fact that it's really just this movie that they're together, except for one scene at the end of Return of the King.
That moment in Return of the King, but when it does happen, he doesn't even say his name. Frodo, it's like
it's payback.
Everybody, it's just like,
where are you, bastard? You're not going to talk.
Yeah.
You're not going to talk to me. I'm not going to remember your name.
It's that really good-looking guy. What's your name?
Something about snow walking dude. I don't know.
I'm not sure. Gimli doesn't have a lot of dialogue with Frodo either, does he?
You're full of surprises.
Yeah.
He at least says a couple of things, but it's just funny that "and my bow" is the only thing he ever says to Frodo. But you're right, John. When you've got when you have an ensemble that big, it's bound to happen.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts about the movie that you'd like to touch on? We'll be coming back in a year to talk about part 2.
I just think it's funny that
this is the most notice I have ever gotten by far. Let me just write this down.
All right, that's it.
I love you all so much. Okay.
Now you're just gonna get 30-second notices, and that's it. It's funny because this think what's great about this is that, you know, I've had a couple different discussions about, you know, these films and this film, and you can have those sort of moment by moment discussions of breaking down stuff, and then you can have like what we've done today, which is just generally gushing about a bunch of different stuff, and it's been kind of chaotic, and there's so much more that we could cover. But like I like that's was kind of the shape today took with the 20th anniversary, because I just sometimes I just love to go on and on about how much I love this movie, and it's just, you know, like I said, today I was really struck by it. I was rewatching the movie, and because it was the 20th anniversary, I just kind of had feelings watching it that I maybe haven't had for a while, like taking in the sort of weight of what an achievement this was, and the fact that we've lived with it now for so long, and that it changed my life forever. So I'm really happy to have gotten to just bask in the, you know, in the glow of this film and all those feelings with you guys. So yeah, even though I hate the title of the stream, Stephen, thank you nonetheless for
it is what it is. Like, would you rather that I mean, time waits for no man, I believe is the quote. Time marches on. Let us not dwell on what was, but what, you know, it has been 20 years. They still hold up. I still consider it, I mean, you guys know I'm a diehard Star Wars fan. I don't know if this will ever be my number one trilogy over the original trilogy of Star Wars films. But if it's not, it's number 2.
Yeah, actually, that was something that I also wanted to say, which is that basically the way you feel about Empire, Stephen, is what this film is to me. I've never been so impacted.
This film, Fellowship.
Yeah, this film in particular. Just because, which is not to say like,
you said Fellowship is your favorite of the trilogy, though.
Yeah, because I've always felt that Lord of the Rings just keeps getting better and better as it goes on, but there's also nothing that can ever replace the experience of, you know, the first time you get to journey into the cinematic version of Middle Earth. I remember sitting in the theater, sitting next to my mom watching this, and I remember very specifically while Gandalf and Bilbo are sitting down in Bag End, you know, talking about the party and Frodo, there was a couple people who walked into the movie late, and the entire theater erupted, and because they were talking as they came in, and the entire theater collectively went shh.
Oh,
because
nice.
It was just filled with Tolkien fans, and they were like, "Don't you people screw up the mood." And
that's very British of those people. Like every film I go to is like that in Britain.
Yeah, that's not how Americans usually are. But like, I remember that as though it were yesterday. It's crystal clear in my head, and that's why it's so hard to say 20 years, because everything about my love for this film and these movies feels as new and as wondrous as it did on the very first day. So yeah, it means a lot to anytime I get to talk about these movies, but especially on a day like today. So thank you guys. I've really enjoyed this.
Well, happy 20th birthday, Fellowship of the Ring. That means next year you're bringing the beer. And when we come back for the Two Towers stream, and hope, you know, I'm sure we'll have you guys on for something else between now and then. I love you both as guests. Separately, together, you're great as well.
Thank you.
And you know, Lord of the Rings stuff is an obvious thing to grab you for, but you know, you've both been on here for other things as well. Yeah, I don't really know what else I can say. I've been very effusive about my love for this movie specifically. It is not my favorite of the trilogy, but I think that just has to do with some of the action set pieces that come later in the series really kind of put those over the top for me. But this is still, I tell people there are no perfect movies, but god dang, this one's close, real close.
I think this is a candidate for the best adaptation of the three movies. My favorite is the Two Towers because of the Battle of Helm's Deep, because this movie is lacking two things. It's lacking Gollum and it's lacking Rohan, and those two things elevate the next two movies.
As you just said Rohan, the music started playing.
Yeah,
in my head
I can't. Yeah.
I
can't remember if you actually said that last year when we were talking about Return of the King on John's stream. I thought your favorite was Return of the King, and mine was
I definitely said Two Towers. Two Towers is my favorite.
I think Two Towers is my favorite as well.
Two Towers is my favorite book and movie.
Okay. But like, it's 6 of one, a half a dozen of the other, almost for everyone in this trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
But this first movie is probably closer to the book than the other two movies are.
And it does a really great job of establishing the story for what's to come.
Yeah.
And we spend a lot of time in the Shire. I always really appreciate how much time we spend in the Shire at the start of this movie, because you just get a sense of where this place is and why it's so idyllic and why the hobbits are fighting so hard for the next 10 hours to protect the Shire, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Matt, like I said before, for me, the trilogy just keeps getting better. So objectively speaking, like, I should be saying that Return of the King is my favorite, but it's purely just because of the emotional power of and the nostalgia of seeing this film that first time and the build up that it had. So like that absolutely factors into when I say it's my favorite. It's there's a lot of that. But to my mind, the story just like keeps the movies keep getting better and better and better. And I'm not going to argue with anybody who loves Two Towers the best, because not just the Battle of Helm's Deep itself, but the build up to the battle is, they just keep cranking that. And then you've got Gollum and
Treebeard. Treebeard. Treebeard.
I see what you did there, Lady Starfall. I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm.
They are all precious to me.
We did. Dan and I kept going, he said the thing. He said the thing.
But I think that's the end for me. I'm going to have to run off to the restroom really soon, one way or another.
Much like the movie experience itself,
Yeah, much like the actual movie.
Yeah.
I remember I kept having to run out to the theater at the Argonath to go pee real quick
because of all the rushing water.
Yeah, the waterfall is just
well, that and also
there's literally two guys telling you don't do that.
But yeah, the movie is so long at that point, and then rushing water. Yeah, but also it's like that's because that's a pure visual spectacle moment. So there's not anything like plot related going on in that moment. So it's like you've got your 60 seconds to run to the bathroom and back.
Right. This movie does have some built-in type of thing. There are a lot of shots where it's just a beautiful background with a swelling score and people in silhouette walking across.
Which, by the way, as long as I'm mentioning the Argonath, I always cracked up about that because, it's one of those great moments of these movies where you kind of soak in the world, of Middle Earth and stuff. But the fact that they had a teaser poster for the movie that was the Argonath and, in the Fellowship, in boats, in the water and stuff. I remember people who didn't know anything about Tolkien or the movies kept asking me what's the deal with the statues? And I'm like, it's not really that important in the grand scheme of things.
They're just cool looking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I will say I did invite the lovely Clueless fangirl to join us, but she's on vacation. She is she was unable to join us, so we're gonna throw some love to Team Ents here, because
if she was here, we would have heard some defense of
we should
we would have heard some defense of Feyenoor.
Yeah, we would have probably.
Yeah, when we start talking trash about elves, it's like that. Then she's gonna be throwing hands.
I watched the first 2 movies with her about 6 weeks ago when she was here in London, and when we were watching the Two Towers, I kept doing Ent voices all the way through just to annoy her.
Fighting the good fight, Dan. Thank you.
All right, y'all. I'm going to push this towards the end. Then I'm going to push this towards the end.
Okay.
I will just go ahead and nonchalantly throw that up there. Anybody that wants to join us on Zoom afterwards, I'll probably be showing up there pretty darn quick. Kelly, you don't have anything coming up that you know of. Dan, you are working on a video about the intervention of the Valar in The Lord of the Rings, and I cannot wait to see that. It's going to be probably next year before it actually comes out?
I think so. I don't know. Okay.
Considering next year is kind of like next week or
it's only like less than 2 weeks away, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole like Saturnalia thing happening between
right.
You know,
we're about
me
to enter
writing
like a
the
weird
video and me editing the video. So yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to that. I love everything you do over there.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
Hence why I'm a patron.
It's all right.
John, you are having Amy Blackfire next week. Back to talk about. Now this is going to be on Wednesday, not your normal Saturday, because Saturday is Christmas Day.
So it'll be this Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Love
Amy and I, Love Actually. It's going to be a great time. I'm just so happy that even if it's just for a week, I'm very happy to have my co-host back. So please tune in if you can. We're going to have a great time.
And next week on Here Be Dragons, we'll be discussing the first half. This will be the day after Christmas. We're just keeping to the regular schedule. We will be discussing the first half of the final season of The Expanse, which has been really, really good. Y'all love that show. Looking forward to having another couple conversations about it. We'll have one next week. Nessie will be back for that one.
I really want to know what's going on with that girl and her weird dog.
Yeah, I do too.
I've been building that up.
Strange dog.
Yeah, I think that dog is gonna like eat her or something. I don't trust that dog.
Look, I don't know. I have not read that short story or that novella, Strange Dogs, but I like every fiber in my being is telling that girl run.
Yeah. I don't have a clue what's going on with any of that. I'm just like, you know, we're setting up for some kind of big twist reveal.
Yeah, it's going to be something cray. But so join us then. Nessie will be back with us next week. John will be there, but we will also be joined by the lovely AK Watch, AK-47, Alicia Kingston will be joining us for some Expanse talk. I think she's going to be here for The Witcher the week after as well. So might get AK on back-to-back weeks. It's going to be awesome.
Can I join for The Witcher? I would like to discuss The Witcher with someone.
Okay.
I was going to suggest that.
Okay.
When is that though? I don't know if I can do
that. That is the 2nd.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sunday. Do that. I might even be in my new
January
office by then.
2nd.
So,
Yay!
All right. So cool. You are correct, Micah. Dual wielding AKs.
All I can think of is Des and Troy together. They destroy.
Mm-hmm.
I should really come up with an idea for something to stream about during HereBeCon, so I can just sprint it on Kelly last minute and be like, we're going live now.
I can just see you like busting into like our, the collective kitchen or whatever, where I'm like trying to do something. You're just like, what's your opinion on? Yeah, and it's just like
camera's
really?
running already.
Yeah, like Twitch, really.
Well, join us in 2 weeks, Matt, and we'll be talking Witcher. Okay, y'all, that's it for me. I have got to visit the restroom. Right. I mean, I drink this much coffee, so But Dan, Kelly, you guys are both fantastic guests as always. Thank you so much. Chatters, you guys were on point today. John.
I was adequate.
Yeah, John, you were satisfactory. No, but seriously, great as always, guys. Loved this movie. Had a blast talking about it with some good friends who are also good people. And yeah, Dan, we'll see you in a couple weeks for Witcher, I guess. Kelly, sometime soon, something. I don't know. It might be Marvel.
I'll be there.
Yeah, I know you will.
All right.
All right. So
let me know which week that is, so I know I have.
I know, John. Look, we got a system. When it's time to talk Marvel.
Oh my God, Kelly, you were so funny last night. You're like, can we change the subject?
I can't wait for you to just eat your effing words, John, when you see Spider-Man. I can't I want to see the pain on your face, at how good this movie is. And you're just going to regret every crappy thing you have said. And I just want you to
it's still
regret
gonna
it
have
so much.
Even if it gives me good, some really great,
it's gonna be so amazing. You're gonna cry.
Sam Raimi nostalgia. It's still gonna have some undeniable MCU stuff that I'm gonna, be like, it was great, except for that stuff was kind of average.
Okay. Anyway, I ain't here for this. I'm gonna see you guys on the Zoom here very shortly. But yeah,
that's how we ended the stream.
Right. Like I'm just going to choose to ignore it all. So yeah, I love you guys. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Saturnalia, Kwanzaa, whatever it is you celebrate. I don't really celebrate much of anything this time of year, but whatever it is that you celebrate, I hope it's a fantastic one or has been a fantastic one for you. And we'll see you guys next week for The Expanse. And until then, you know what it is. Peace and be excellent to each other.